At age 74, André Rieu's health finally gave out on him. He had to cancel several much-anticipated shows in Mexico City, which broke the hearts of his fans. Because of this sudden change in his touring plans, Rieu's son has stepped up to run the huge business he has spent decades building. It's hard to believe that the man who used to perform an amazing 100 shows a year and own an amazing 80 properties might need to think about retiring, especially since he always said he would keep acting until he was 140 years old. It hits home that his last show at Mastery, the place where he started his music career, was a moving goodbye to both his fans and his amazing success. Rieu was born in 1949 in the Dutch town of Master. He grew up in a home that was full of music but not very warm. His strict father, who was the director of the Maastricht Symphony Orchestra, put discipline above all else. This meant that he often didn't show the love and support that you'd expect from a caring family. Rieu's hard childhood shaped his unwavering work ethic and love for music, making him the charismatic artist he is now. Even though an era is ending, his music and legacy will continue to inspire artists and fans all over the world. They had 6 kids, and André was the third. His family was more like a strict military camp than a warm house. As a child, I didn't get much love or support. As strict Roman Catholics, his parents only cared about following the rules and keeping things quiet. Friends were not allowed to come over, and there wasn't much laughing. He really thought what André said when he said, "My parents didn't love me very much." From a young age, his naturally excited personality didn't go well with how distant his parents were. He took music lessons and got good grades so much that his mom didn't like it when teachers called him an artist. André felt like he wasn't seen unless he did everything correctly. He went to therapy for years to try to figure out why his childhood felt so empty. He may have changed the way people think about classical music because he felt empty. Something strange happened to him when he was 5. His piano teacher made him fall in love. She was 18 years old, blonde and pretty. He had a hard time paying attention in class because she kept drawing his attention away. But she pushed him to work out every day. He didn't care about techniques or numbers. She made him want to play like her. He watched how she moved her hands and how she brought music to life. While others were still having trouble, André was already good at picking up on the emotional nuances in music within weeks. He cared about how things made him feel, not how wonderful they were. The fights between him and his dad got worse as he got older. André didn't want to play the serious, stiff classical songs. He wished to make music that was lively and fun. That wasn't nice to do to his dad. It hurt André's pride when his dad told him, "I didn't raise you to play waltzers." Things got worse when André told his family about Marjorie, the woman he would marry. His mom didn't greet Marjorie. She told him to leave and told André to clean up his room like he was a child. That was the last blow. He left with Marjorie and never looked back. From that point on, his folks never showed up to any of his shows. When his dad died in 1992, he was already playing in big places around the world, so he never got to see what André had done. But even though he was being turned down, André was making a plan. He saw something strange while playing in his dad's orchestra. They didn't seem to care about the music for the most part. Instead, they talked about the weather. They were upset about their pay. It had no life. However, something magical took place during the repeat. They were going to play a Strauss dance. All of a sudden, the crowd came to life. People laughed and smiled. They made a hum. The power changed. He knew then that he wanted to play this kind of music, not to please reviewers, but to make people feel something. His soft music one day was a surprise for a dying woman who hadn't opened her eyes in days. But when the music started, she opened the doors. André knew at that moment what music could really do. It wasn't important to be ideal. It was about how you felt. That's when the thought of making his own group began to grow. The first thing André did was small. He was 29 years old, had just had a baby, and didn't have much money. He got together a small group of players to form the Maastricht Salon Orchestra. They played at weddings, town buildings and border towns between Germany and Belgium, among other places. Most people had forgotten about the waltzes and cabaret music they played. It wasn't exciting. They didn't have much money. He didn't care though. It was something he loved to do. He played Franz Lehár's Gold and Silver Waltzes one night during a small show. He put all of his heart into it, and he could feel something change. It seemed like the music was talking to him. He decided that night that this was his life. It didn't bother him if people said it was corny. It didn't bother him if the rich and powerful laughed. Classical music could make him happy, and he wasn't going to stop until everyone else did too. In 1987, André Rieu reached a new point in his life. He was almost 40 years old and had been in charge of the Maastricht Salon Orchestra for almost 10 years. But something didn't feel right. There was no longer any thrill. The limits were easy to see. The old structure wasn't good enough either. Off any longer. It was bigger what he wanted. He wanted to do more than just play music. He wished to make magic happen. People used to feel this way when Johann Strauss played the violin and conducted at the same time, moving his whole body to the music. That life force, that fun, that feeling of being living. Rieu meant for it to come back. But making the choice wasn't easy. It was very dangerous to start something new. It cost real money to hire skilled musicians, and he wasn't wealthy. He had to pull in more money for himself for every artist he hired. There was no guarantee of bookings, and classical music wasn't known for taking chances. He knew he had to try though. The first show of his new group, the Johann Strauss Orchestra, took place on January 1, 1988. There were only 12 artists and a small crowd, but it didn't feel the same. Rieu did not follow the rules. It's not like him to dress the musicians in black. He didn't make the stage quiet and proper. Laughter, folk music, dramatic lighting, and a theatrical flair were all brought in by him. Some people didn't like it. They said it was silly and cheap. But the people in the crowd smiled, clapped, and took part. Rieu wasn't going to let go of the spark he had found. Then something happened that made everything different. It was May 1995, and the match for the Champions League was in Vienna. During the game between Ajax and Bayern Munich, something strange happened at Halime. Rieu and his musicians came out on stage and played Shostakovich's Waltz No. 2. Someone in the Netherlands had heard the song in a TV ad, but no one was ready for what happened next. All 50,000 football fans in the stadium started to move, hum, and get lost in the music. No one had ever seen anything like it before. Live video feeds of the event reached 300 million people in Europe. It was more than just a magic show, it was a shock to the culture. After that, Rieu sold 200,000 CDs in a few weeks. The record Strauss & Company, which came out the previous year, went viral, all of a sudden. It stayed at the top of the Dutch album charts for 19 weeks in a row, making it the best-selling album in the country, all of 2010. Classical music fans who had never been interested in it before, bought his records, went to his shows, and fell in love with waltzes. People who study music still say that football game was the turning point for André Rieu as a person. His fame spread, but not everyone was happy about it. It was a tough fight in the world of classical music. They called him a fake, said he was breaking custom, and said he was making music from hundreds of years ago into a circus. A famous conductor was criticized so badly in one piece that he called his shows musical pornography. The reviewers didn't like the loud jokes, the bright costumes, the simple sets, or the simple arrangements. In 2008, when Rieu built a copy of Vienna's Schönbrunn Palace, things got even worse. Just for the back of the stage, there are fountains, ice rinks, and horses. Purists were shocked that it cost $34 million. Rieu didn't give up though. He thought that everyone should be able to enjoy music, not just professionals in concert rooms, kids, parents, teachers, cleaners. Everyone he could think of should be able to enjoy the same music that used to be kept secret by strict rules. It was hard to hide the truth. A lot of people loved him. A lot of people went to his shows, danced in the aisles, and bought a lot of albums. Strauss & Company made a lot of noise in 1994. But after that show in 1995, it went through the roof. It sold 150,000 copies in just a few months in the Netherlands. It did something very rare for classical music in Germany. It smashed into the top 5 on the charts. It sold more than 3 million copies around the world by the time it reached its peak. In major European areas, it sold more than some of the biggest pop stars, like Bon Jovi and Celine Dion. Due to his work, even big record shops began to stock more classical music. People who work in the field called it the Rieu effect. Universal Music said that more money was made from his albums than from those of any other classical act. He changed more than just music, he changed the business as well. From that one dangerous choice in 1987, everything came about. People thought he was cocky when he named his band after Johann Strauss. He showed them they were wrong over time. He didn't take Strauss's job, he woke him up. Not as many people played Strauss's waltzes in the 1980s. They were not played by many people. Strauss's music had been played 16 times more often by 2010, mostly because of Rieu. His orchestra had grown from 12 players at first to more than 60 by the end, making it bigger than Strauss's own group. To honor Strauss's 100th birthday in 1999, Rieu put out a tribute record and talked about how much he admired him. He was even given one of Austria's greatest awards by the government for preserving the country's musical history. That's not all that André Rieu played. He made it known all over the world. No one thought a musician would do what he did in 2008. He made a huge copy of the Schönbrunn Palace in Vienna and showed it off all over the world. It was a real house that he took with him all over the world. It was more than just a background. Real fountains, ice rinks, chandeliers, and even horse-drawn cars from Vienna were there. The Rolling Stones had never built anything bigger. It wasn't just for show either. Rieu wanted to share the magic of Vienna with people who could never go there. The planning was crazy. It took 100 people 6 days to build the stage each time he did it, but it was worth it. In Europe and Australia, arenas were packed with people. He played in front of 65 people at the Telstra Dome in Melbourne, breaking the record for the largest classical concert ever held in Australia. Nearly 90,000 people came to all 3 shows in that city. When he was in Europe, he sold out stadiums just as quickly. In Australia, at one point, 8 of the top 10 spots on the charts were taken by his DVDs. Pink and AC/DC were the only ones who got in. This run wasn't just a lucky one. Rieu became so famous on stage that he made it into the top 10 list of the world's highest-grossing tours, performing with Madonna, The Police, and other big names. That's pretty good for someone who is known as the King of Waltzes. Plus, the sales of his albums and DVDs earned him over 500 silver awards, which is more than any other classical artist has ever done. Universal Music gave him a handmade chrome violin trophy as a gift to celebrate this achievement, saying that his level of success had never been seen before in the music business. Still, not everything was great. Things went wrong on what was supposed to be a fun Christmas show in the UK in 2016. In his sleep, Ruud Merckx, Rieu's longtime trombonist, had a sudden heart attack while the orchestra was playing leads. For more than 20 years, he had been in Rieu's band. He was with his wife, who also played in the orchestra. 2 kids were ready for them at home. It was a big deal for the group. Rieu quickly cancelled the show in Nottingham that night, and soon after, the rest of the UK tour was put off. London, Manchester, Glasgow, and Birmingham. These shows were taken off the calendar. Rieu really meant it when he said that his group was like family. A lot of them had been with him for more than 25 years, and it was terrible to lose one of their own right before Christmas. It took 5 days for Merckx to die, after being taken back to the Netherlands. When Rieu finally got back to the UK in March, there was a clear change. The magic stayed the same, but fewer people came to see it. He and other people remembered what happened in December. André Rieu had been enchanting people with his music for decades, but when he went back to Mexico City in March 2024, it was almost too much for him. Even though he was 74 years old, he kept touring the world like he was half that age, until his body suddenly gave out. André passed out after only 2 shows because of the harsh effects of jet lag, being at a high altitude, and having the flu. He was pushed to his limits by the fact that Mexico City is over 2,000 meters above sea level. Even the musicians in his group had a hard time. They got nosebleeds and were tired. It was harder for André. For lack of a better word, he said he felt 100 years old and had a fever. That night behind the scenes, he called his wife and told her something he had never told her before. "I no longer want my first music day to be like this." It was the first time the artist who thought he could do anything admitted that he might need to slow down. The shows had to be called off. Over 40,000 people were let down, and the man who always took pride in never missing a show had to go home. This wasn't just a short-term warning. André had been sick for a long time. In 2010 he lost his balance because of a virus in his inner ear. This messed up his tour and took months to heal. In 2019, he even acted while having a high fever without telling anyone. Maybe, but probably never again. Pierre was no longer just a business boss. Now it was his job to keep his dad safe. He had slowly taken the load off of André's shoulders over the years by taking care of the crew, planning, and making sure everything ran smoothly. André used to want to be in charge of everything. He now had full faith in Pierre. After every close call and health scare, their bond got stronger. Pierre had also become the shield behind the scenes. Then there was the fine. The Dutch government fined André a huge £236,000 because they said that children had worked past the allowed hours for minors. Even though it was later lowered, it was still one of the biggest fines for cultural offenses in Dutch history. They came back for André's team. They said that the kids didn't play after 11 p.m. They just came back out on stage to wave as the show ended. Anyway, those kids were really being led by Zanfer, not André. The courts fought for 2 years, but in the end they agreed with him. He also offered 700 tons of steel to help rebuild Enrain Cathedral after it caught fire. Small movements that showed a side of him that didn't always make news. Then there's his very valuable Stradivarius. At one point he almost had to sell it because of money problems. To keep it safe, he put it up for sale for a crazy amount of money. He took it off the market when things got better. It's not just strings made of wood on that fiddle. It's who he is. The rare 1732 model he now plays is safe, and he sends it everywhere. On the back of all the fame was his wife Marjorie, who wrote songs for the orchestra without ever taking credit. We don't need to see her work because it lives in the song. In the background, Marjorie shaped the sound, guided the vision, and pushed André to make something new, while he became the star. She also pushed for one of the bravest things the couple ever did, buying a castle that was hundreds of years old. When he got bored with classical music, she was the one who did it. The call was out of the blue. The event took place while they were on vacation. Inside, you can still hear the music and the family choices that made the empire what it is today. The next generation is now entering that world. Even though Daisy is only 9 years old, she is already practicing the piano with the group. It's not an act to get attention. This is how Rieu's power works. Slowly and quietly, with love and skill. He knows what it's like to grow up with music. He went through it. Daisy is now living it too. Like her dad Pierre. Yes, you were in the right place to sing, clap or cry. In the late 2000s and early 2010s, he told people not to wear ball dresses unless they were going to twirl. People loved how he turned the music into a party. In the past, most classical events were more like classes than live shows. There were strict rules, stiff clothes and quiet groups. If you clapped at the wrong time, you could get a mean look that made Rieu angry. Some people said Rieu's show was too relaxed, and soon it went viral. More than just fans saw him sing Danny Boy in Dublin. It went viral and got millions of views, just like a music video that topped the charts. He was smart in more ways than just going online though. That's how he used it. At each stop on the tour, the songs,
themes and content were all made to fit the place. He didn't just ask fans, he got them involved in the show. Everything was carefully planned, from the polls to the sneak peeks, to the parties, to the gifts. No longer was it just about the music, it became about making memories, making people feel things, and letting them get lost in his vision. The movie houses had to change too. The days of being very quiet and stiff were over. Now people could grab some snacks and drinks, and get cozy for an evening that felt more like a party than just a movie showing. Rieu saw something very important. People want real events, and he gave them that. At first reviewers were harsh. But André Rieu's past is much more complicated than his many awards and praise suggest. Behind the big shows and packed venues is a man who spent years in therapy trying to heal from the wounds his emotionally distant father caused. His father never told him he was proud of him, or that he was good at playing the violin. He also never really saw him. André was so hurt that he didn't even go to the funeral for his father. When he was young, he saw his brother run away to another country to avoid the same kind of mental turmoil. Therapy gave André important tools and helped him see things from a different point of view. He is now more interested in real business than in big dreams. That event changed him and made him more careful, even though his stage persona still shines. As André gets closer to his 75th birthday, he is getting ready for something big, maybe one last big goodbye. He plans to go back to Maastricht, where he was born, for a concert series that seems more like a farewell than a party. His health has already sent up red flags by canceling shows and making people worry about how much longer he can keep going. He goes with a personal trainer and makes sure to get enough sleep every night to stay sharp. He's sure that music can help people feel better. His fans have told him this, and some doctors have even said that his performances are therapeutic. He might not want to stop because of this. André Rieu sees every note he plays as a way to give back, stay young, and get over the pain of his childhood.